Welcome back to the Anxiety Hour, where we are learning, we are growing, and we are evolving together. That's right, I am right here alongside you, learning and growing and evolving myself in each new challenge and experience that I have every day. I just happen to be bringing these tools to you, the tools that have worked for me in the past and the tools that continue to work for me today. Now, the last video that I posted, I spoke a lot about support systems and how in times of intense anxiety, it's very easy to just not have the bandwidth to explore other modalities of healing. Whether it just be reading a book, trying hypnosis for the first time, or meditation for the first time, without that pressure being taken off by our support systems. Or in this case, it was for me, both a support system of therapy and a support system of medication. Without that, it's very difficult sometimes to actually find benefit in or enough time to spend in one of these modalities. And now where I want to take this video is once we have that support system where we feel like we can really start to explore other modalities, other tool sets, once we have that support system in place, the number one tool that has been so valuable in my life, and I've talked about it on the channel before, is meditation. Meditation has brought so much value to my life and so much healing to my life. And there's one very important reason that it has been so valuable. I mean, there's many reasons, but there's one that I really want to focus on, and that is space. Now, what do I mean by space? When I say that meditation has cultivated space in me, I mean that it has created an opportunity to respond instead of to react to the things in our life. So we have triggers throughout our day, we have thoughts throughout our day, emotions throughout our day, fears and worries, maybe conversations we didn't like, and we can easily find ourselves reacting to them, just automatically reacting to them with sadness or anger or any form of upset. And what meditation did for me is it created the ability to have space between myself and that so that I could respond. And what meditation did for me is it created the ability to have space between myself and that so that I could respond. So instead of immediately responding or reacting to a trigger with anger or upset or fear or lashing back out, it gave me the opportunity to choose how I wanted to respond. And in that space is so much potential for healing because it allows us to choose the way in which we want to be instead of just being on autopilot from the past habits that we had or the old conditionings that we've learned from our parents or our teachers or our other authority figures. And so it's almost like an unlearning. We're getting to choose how we want to show up in the world instead of being on autopilot and just immediately reacting to whatever trigger comes our way. For example, if you're having a conversation with somebody and they happen to say something, let's say it's someone you really care about, and they happen to say something that is triggering to you to the point where you get really angry, we can immediately react in that moment and just lash back out with them. Or if we have this space, we have the opportunity to respond in a way that could be much healthier for that relationship. So instead of lashing back out with them, maybe we can say, hey, I'd appreciate it if you didn't talk to me like that. Or we can set a boundary with that person. And it allows us to have these healthier relationships. It allows us to have clarity in our own minds, because let's say you have a thought that was triggering to you. Now you have space between yourself and that thought. So you can choose to see that thought and respond to it the way that you'd like. Because after all, we are so much more than our thoughts and our emotions.
We are so much more.
We are so much more than our thoughts and our emotions, right? We're so much more than the contents of our minds. We are our awareness. We get to choose where we are going to put our awareness, whether it be me being able to feel the sensation of my skin or listening to a lawnmower outside, etc. We get to choose where we put our awareness, and this space allows us to heal and put our awareness on things that are going to make us better off. So that's why meditation has been so helpful, because meditation is a very strong tool in cultivating that space. Now, one of the analogies that I really like to use when I'm describing this is, imagine your anxious thoughts as big blinding spotlights, okay? Now, with big blinding spotlights being in your face, it's going to be very difficult to see what is behind them or what else is in that room. Just like when you have very anxious thoughts, it's difficult to see past your anxious thoughts. You're so caught up in them. And the more that we meditate, the more that we dim those lights, and the more that we take our reactiveness to our anxious thoughts out of the picture, so that we can see the whole picture and respond the way that we would like to, instead of getting so caught up in that fogginess or identifying with our fears or identifying with our worries. This gives us the opportunity to come back to ourselves. And so over time, as we meditate, these big lights start to get so small over time, the more that we practice, that they become little twinkling Christmas lights. And they actually decorate the room instead of causing this fogginess where we can't really see anything else that's going on. And then at that point, they're just kind of creating character, like, I moved through that. I healed through that at one point in time. And this is really, really helpful because it brings power back to ourselves. Instead of getting so wrapped up in identifying with our thoughts and our fears and these emotions and these sensations, we get to create. We get to be the creators of our life instead of just the reactors to what's going on around us. Does that make sense? This has been so, so helpful in my life personally. And of course, it's one tool in the tool belt, right? Again, the support system, the meditation, and then I'll talk about other things as well, like breathing is super important, or the work that I did in therapy, certain cognitive behavioral therapies have been so important. But this tool specifically has been so, so, so crucial in my own personal development. And now I am meditating twice a day, every day, about 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon. And it has compounded over time. It's just stacking and stacking on top of each other because these little improvements add up to big improvements over time. There's so many different ways that you can do it. You don't have to do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon from the get-go. There are meditation apps that you could do. You could do 10 minutes just to start with, but you got to show up for yourself even when you don't want to. There's many days when I'm like, I really don't want to meditate, but I still go through with it. And again, you'll see these benefits pile up over time. I am realizing benefits now, even though I started 7 years ago. And it's been so helpful in just uncovering the true essence of myself so far past those anxieties and so far past those worries, so that I get to be the creator of my life instead of just reacting to everything that's going on around me. So a couple forms of meditation that you could research are the number one, the one that I started with and was really great because it offered community and support and an instructor with it, is Transcendental Meditation. I put up a video or two videos with that a couple years ago, and I intend on doing another one. But Transcendental Meditation, it's laid out for you, you're instructed, and you always have this community that you can go back to if you have questions. So you really feel supported. Number two is a meditation called Vipassana. And Vipassana meditation is something that you do on your own, but you also you learn from an instructor. It's more about sensation and being with sensations, rather than transcendental meditation has to do with a mantra-based meditation. They're very similar, but a little bit different. And then there's meditations out there that you can do on on your phone. So there's guided meditation apps. My favorite is Waking Up by Sam Harris. He includes a 28-day introductory course, and then he has a meditation, a new one, every day. And you could choose between 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And that has been something that I also use from time to time just to kind of continue building my practice. And then, of course, there's Headspace and Calm. I haven't dabbled with them, but those top three have been so helpful. So I just encourage you to research these things and Google and just spend some time on YouTube watching other people's videos about meditation and what kinds of meditation that they do. Other resources that you can check out, of course, there's many podcasts that people have today on meditation. You could listen to Joe Rogan, I think, has some content. You have to dive and check out who is actually talking about that with him. Sam Harris has his own podcast. Aubrey Marcus has a great podcast. And I'm sure there's many others out there. Also, Deepak Chopra has a lot of meditations. And then I also have some books here that I really want to share with you. The first one I don't actually have a physical copy of, but it's called Transcendence by Norman Rosenthal. And then he has another book called The Supermind, also by Norman Rosenthal. And those both dive very deep into meditation, specifically Transcendental Meditation, but Supermind will also talk about the comparisons between Transcendental Meditation and Mindfulness Meditation as well. They're all helpful. I just encourage you to start and find what works for you. Again, you got to give it some time and practice it, because at the end of the day, it is a practice. So some of the books that I have read that have really been able to instruct me on understanding myself in this space that I talk about. Number one is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. He talks about the difference between ourselves and like our pain body, and how there is a difference between life and life situations. So really good book. Also touches on spirituality and how meditation can connect to that. Another is Super Genes by Deepak Chopra. He talks about how meditation also gives us not just the mental benefits and mental clarity, but how our physical body is also very much related to this, and how meditation can make our kids better off when we have kids in the future. How incredible. It's called Gene Methylation. It's all about epigenetics. Really good book. And then lastly, one of my favorites is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman talks a lot about just having an understanding of our minds and our emotions and creating a relationship with them so that we understand them instead of being so reactive to them. And he introduces different tools in that as well. So I encourage you to check those things out. I will be including more content on this, but feel free to ask questions as well. I will be having meditation classes once my website is up in the future, and I will definitely notify you guys about them. Sorry if I get so I get very structured in my talking sometimes when I really care about something and educating somebody on something. I do have a playful side as well. It just doesn't always come out when I'm trying to educate. So that's a starting place for you. Again, this space is so crucial to cultivate just for our own peace and our own happiness, for creativity and clarity in the work that we do and how we show up in the world. And number 3 is our relationships, because relationships, at least to me, are the bedrock. Quality relationships are the bedrock of a loving and fulfilling life. And this meditation and this space can help us show up much better in our relationships to have healthier, more loving relationships. And, the first relationship that's most important is the one you have with yourself. And meditation will help you uncover just how beautiful you are past all of these fears, all of these worries, and all of these triggers and nonsense, all of these conditionings. Much love to you. Thank you for showing up and doing the work. Just the fact that you're watching this video and watching it all the way through, you are here and you're ready to do the work. And I just encourage you to hop on one of these types of meditation that I've shared with you. I'll see you next time. Bada bing, bada boom. Much love.